National Signing Day is here, and I'm going to tell you the path for Tennessee to wrap up a top 10 class for the class of 2025. All that and more, it's your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane, and this is your number one stop for Tennessee football news and entertainment. Weekday mornings, 30 minutes or less. You know it. We are free and available wherever you get your show every dayers. Big thank you. Couldn't do it without you guys. And I want to give a shout out to FanDuel, where new customers can place a $5 bet, and you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com to go ahead and get started today. Today's show is going to be a fun one. Josh Ward for Ward Wednesday is going to be stopping by in segment number 3. In segment 2, I'm going to tell you who can redshirt and who can't redshirt from the class of 2024, the true freshman class this past season. And coming up here at the top of the show, look at Tennessee and the National Signing Day and what needs to happen for the Volunteers to wrap up a top 10 class. So it's going to be a fun show. I do encourage you guys. I did a little mini podcast last night, late last night, on Tennessee's ranking in the college football playoff updated bracket. So go ahead and listen to that after this show, if you would. And let's get started. Tennessee's entering the day. Tennessee's entering the day at current standing at the time of this recording, ranked number 10 in the On3 industry ranking, 7th in the Southeastern Conference for the class of 2025. 24 total commits. Tennessee did have one uncommitted player, Tennessee did have one decommit a couple of days ago in Sheady Hayward. Sheady Hayward's a really nice, talented player, top 100, top 55 in the On3 specific rankings, but top 85 in the On3 industry rankings. Highly rated 4-star, really, really good player. And, you know, for a long time, it felt like Tennessee's been in a good spot with Sheady Hayward, been in a good spot. You know, Georgia just would not go away. Georgia wouldn't go away. Here lately, it's kind of been Florida. You know, it's Florida on this massive recruiting run. They had all of, 8, 9 commits about a month ago because it was a total disaster where that class was because of the uncertainty of Billy Napier. But they've kind of turned that around. I think Florida's moved up around number 10 in the country, I believe. So kind of right around where Tennessee is right now, and looking to try to flip, or I guess just, get Sheady Hayward to sign on Wednesday because Sheady Hayward's already decommitted from Tennessee. Last I heard at the time of this recording, Tennessee's still in communication with Sheady Hayward. Tennessee's still working that one. And Tennessee's not out of it, but it does feel like Sheady Hayward, at least right now, not going to be a part of this class. And I will remind you, things change by the minute. Of course, you guys know this. I'm recording this on Tuesday. Signing day's on Wednesday, so things can happen. It gets pretty nutty here in the last couple of hours leading into signing day. But that's kind of where I am on Sheady Hayward. What about another Tennessee commit that Florida is really trying to get after right now? That is defensive back commit Onis Conabani. He committed to Tennessee back in August, and not a highly rated player. He is, just inside the top 400 nationally, according to the On3 industry rankings, but he's long, he's athletic, and he's what Tennessee wants in a cornerback. And, Tim Banks, Willie Martinez, they really, really liked Conabani's game, and that's why he went ahead and jumped in the class back in August during that recruiting surge. Well, Florida has been coming really, really hard at this one as well. Intel on Tuesday suggests that Conabani, who thought about maybe waiting till February to sign, is likely going to sign today. It's just going to be between Florida or Tennessee. And so that one is one to watch for sure. A 3-star rated prospect, 4-star, according to the On3 industry rankings from South Carolina, Columbia. And it's going to be between either Tennessee or Florida and not the hometown Gamecocks. So Onis Conabani is certainly one to watch today and to see, kind of where he is in regards to Tennessee and Florida. A couple other ones to watch, and I'll start off on a high note here. Isaiah Campbell, former Clemson defensive line. Defensive lineman, decommitted. And for the last couple of months, he's been trying to choose between Tennessee and North Carolina. Well, as my coworker Austin Price would say, 2 + 2 is 4, okay? Carolina doesn't have a football coach right now. Everything points to Tennessee. So I fully expect Isaiah Campbell to be a big get for Tennessee on National Signing Day coming up today. and him to be a part of this class. And I think that would improve and help the rankings for sure. So Isaiah Campbell, he is a really good player, number 37 in the country according to On3, number 48 overall according to the On3 industry rankings. On3 has him as the 4th-ranked defensive lineman in the class and the 2nd guy out of the state of North Carolina. Again, this is a Tennessee-North Carolina battle, but North Carolina does not have a football coach right now, so let's use our brains here, and I fully expect Isaiah Campbell, at least at this point in time, to be a part of Tennessee's class. So we'll see about that. All right, excuse me. Timothy Merritt is another one to watch. He is a Miami commit. He is a safety. He's been committed to Miami for quite some time, dating back to, I want to say, early June. And Tennessee's been wanting him for a while. Tennessee's been trying to get Timothy Merritt to join this class. Doesn't matter if Sheady Hayward's in the class or not. And we'll see exactly if Merritt is going to stay with Miami or if he's going to flip to Tennessee. Certainly, he's another one to watch, a top 600 player, but a guy that Tennessee covets in Timothy Merritt. So those are some names to be on the lookout for Tennessee here on National Signing Day. Everybody's wanting to know about David Sanders. David Sanders, well, he created quite the scare a little bit last week and 2 weekends ago when he went to Ohio State for that Michigan game. Or no, not the Michigan game. I guess it was the whoever Ohio State was playing. I guess was it Indiana? Whoever Ohio State was playing that week. And yeah, I mean, that was not ideal. It feels like at this point in time, and again, things move by the minute, but it feels like Tennessee has weathered that storm. It feels like Tennessee is all but going to have David Sanders sign and be in this class here in 2025, and so that's huge. I don't need to tell you guys that David Sanders is the 6th-ranked player in the country, according to the On3 industry rankings, the number 1 offensive tackle, and the number 1 player out of the state of North Carolina. We were just talking about Isaiah Campbell being the 2nd-ranked prospect out of North Carolina. Well, David Sanders is the 1st out of Providence Day. So he is an unbelievable talent. He is a guy that could probably be in line to maybe be a day 1 starter, which is very hard to do as a true freshman. Very hard to do as a true freshman, but David Sanders has got that type of ability. So holding on to him will ensure that Tennessee has a top 10 class, in my opinion, and it feels like Tennessee is in great position to do just that. Who are some other guys in this class that will sign with Tennessee today that, we don't have to talk about a little bit, but I think are going to turn into some players? I think Marion Dye is going to be a really, really good player. 6'4", about 270-pound edge. I think that he can play a little bit of Leo, but I think he's going to be more that strong side defensive end. A really, really talented player. He's a top 100 prospect out of the state of Indiana. Yeah, Indiana. Sorry, I couldn't see the state there. And I think he's going to be a really, really good player, a very underrated prospect in this class. Travis Smith, the wide receiver. Georgia Tech made a push here late, but it sounds like Travis Smith's going to stay with his commitment to the Volunteers. He is a top 100 player, highly rated 4-star athlete. Deson Brame, he has been fully committed to Tennessee. Of course, he originally committed to Oregon. Tennessee flipped him. Deson Brame, highly rated tight end prospect, 4-star, and I can't wait to see what he can do in this Josh Heupel offense. The quarterback of the class, one of the first commits in this class, is George McIntyre out of Brentwood Academy. Once upon a time was highly, highly rated, and he's still got good rating, number 100 by On3, number 110 overall by the On3 industry rankings. Which is a weighted distribution between On3, 247. They have the highest percentages. Rivals, I believe, has 25%. And little old ESPN that tries to stay relevant, actually really doesn't even try to stay relevant in recruiting because it doesn't allocate its resources to recruiting, and it's a shame to be the worldwide leader. Anytime I can dunk on ESPN, boys, I'm going to dunk on ESPN. That is how the On3 industry rankings is kind of weighted there. But George McIntyre, 110 according to the On3 industry rankings, and had a really good, strong senior season. Had a chance to call a game that he played at Knoxville Catholic. He looked really good, and I think he's just going to continue to get better and better. Ethan Utley from the Mid-State Innsworth, he's been a long-standing commit in this class, defensive lineman. Rodarius Jackson's a guy that Tennessee pinpointed early in the cycle from the state, but wanted to beat out Ole Miss because he's in the Memphis area. Fast rising prospect wide receiver Rodarius Jackson. Jaden Harmon had to flip him from Alabama and hold off an Alabama push. Jaden Harmon's going to be in this class, really good player. Christian Gass, another one. Georgia just would not go away. There's versatility in his game. Inside backer, edge at the Leo position. He's at 6'2", 220 pounds. Top 185 player in the country. On3 has him just outside the top 100 at 102. Christian Gass is going to be a player, and he will play as a freshman. Nick Moore from Jeff County. Love a Patriot here in this signing class. I think this could be the center of the future for Tennessee. And, of course, his head football coach, Spencer Riley, knows a thing or two about playing center at the University of Tennessee. Jaden Lofton, unfortunately, had a season-ending injury, cut short his senior season, but he's a guy on the edge that I think Tennessee's going to like. Jack Van Dorselaer, the tight end from Texas, paired with Deshaun Brame. I think that could be a lethal 1-2 punch at the tight end position for Tennessee down the line. Charles House, a defensive lineman that Tennessee covets. Trey Poteet, a cornerback that Tennessee covets. An offensive lineman, Anthony Cade Ogmaro, interior offensive lineman, guard-type body that Tennessee liked. Brendan Ains, linebacker from in-state, flipped from Indiana. Joakim Dotson, another wide receiver from Baylor School. He's an in-state prospect that Tennessee targeted early in the cycle. DeJuan Morris, who just flipped from Southern Cal to Tennessee. Sidney Walton, the safety. Darion Smith, that's another name to watch out for today. Darion Smith, defensive lineman for Tennessee, might flip to Auburn, okay? And, he's a developmental player. I don't think this is one that's going to hurt Tennessee, especially in the rankings, if he is to flip. But watch for Darion Smith, defensive line commit for Tennessee from St. Francis Academy, likely to flip to Auburn. At least that's what it feels like right now. Dylan Lewis in this class, Tyler Redmond in this class, both those guys from Milton. And Justin Baker, the running back in this class, the one that signed, or the one that committed well before DeJuan Morris flip from Southern Cal. I like the makeup of this class. We'll continue to talk a little bit about this on Thursday's Locked On Vols and kind of react to everything that was the day. Isaiah Campbell, will it be official? David Sanders, will it be official? We feel like that will be. What about Onis Conanbanny? What about the finality of Sheady Hayward? What about Tim Merritt? We'll discuss all that and more and kind of react to Tennessee and where Tennessee finishes in the overall rankings, both in the country and in the Southeastern Conference. All that and more is going to come up on a Thursday Locked On Vols. But signing day, baby. It's a holiday, at least it used to be, and we'll continue to cover it right here on the show. I want to tell you guys about my friends over at Better Together. Do you hate the team that you drafted in season-long fantasy, but you want to stay in the action? Introducing Better Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork trumps talent and you can play with your friends, not against your friends. Pick more or less on real-time player stats, strategize with your partner to boost your odds, and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social daily fantasy movements at Better Together. Okay, Better Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy application. Better Together provides a sense of camaraderie and enhances the social experience of watching sports. Makes you realize that DFS is not fun alone, but like a lot of things, it's better when you have friends. It's a way to stay connected with friends when you can't watch sports together in person. Plus, it puts your group chat to the test and lets you prove yours is the best. All right? So, download Better Together from the App Store and sign up using the promo code LOCKEDON for a chance to play in a contest with, or maybe even against me. Because winning alone is fun, but it's always better together. Hey guys, welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Again, if you want reaction for Tennessee in the college football playoff rankings, I put out a little mini podcast late on a Tuesday night. I encourage you to go check that out. Should be in this feed, should be here on the YouTube, wherever you get your show. So make that your second listen here this morning. So we kind of gave a little signing day primer on some names to look out for heading into National Signing Day. Well, what about those true freshmen who were a part of the class of 2024? Okay, there were 20 of them. How many of those guys qualify for a red shirt? And of those who played, who showed out, what players do not qualify for a red shirt, and why is that? Well, we're going to kind of work through here again of 20 true freshmen who were on scholarship this season for Tennessee. And I guess I should say this, reminder, the season's not over, okay? But the regular season is. And the rules in terms of occupying a red shirt, you can play in 4 or fewer games. If you play in more than 4 games, so 5, 6, 7, 8, you do not qualify for a red shirt. And bowl games, conference championships, playoff games, those do not count against the number. So sure, the season's still going on right now. Tennessee's got a playoff game coming up, and we're super thrilled and pumped up about it. But the red shirt, we know exactly who's going to be redshirting. And sure, there are some sophomores and juniors who can redshirt, but right now, we are looking at true freshmen. So, of the 20 true freshmen who are on scholarship for Tennessee football this year, 14 of them are eligible for a red shirt. At the quarterback position, only one, Jake Marklinger. He did appear in 2 games. He was 6-9 passing, 48 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He had 22 yards rushing. Those 2 games he appeared in, I want to say was UTC and Kent State, but don't quote me. Wide receiver, 1, Braylon Staley. Braylon Staley, who, battled, he was kind of the talk of spring practice, right? The first couple of days of spring practice, he was all over the field and thought that he might kind of carve out a niche this season, but he did deal with a lot of injuries towards the back half of spring practice. He dealt with a lot of injuries during the first part of the season and fall camp. He ended up playing in 3 games, had 1 reception for 10 yards against UTEP, but Braylon Staley, I think, is going to be a decent player down the line. Cole Harrison, he was the commit for Tennessee on the eve of National Signing Day last December. If you remember, it was late at night because he's from California. He appeared in 2 games, had no stats. Tennessee had 6 offensive linemen who signed in the class of 2024, and all 6 of them redshirted this year. Bennett Warren, who was not here in spring, was playing catch-up all camp long. He appeared in 4 games, has no stats. He was the highest-rated offensive lineman in this class last year, and I think that he can be a player down the line. But again, when you don't show up for the midterm, you're kind of playing from behind, right? William Satterwhite, who I do believe will be the center next year at this point in time. He played in 3 games. No stats, obviously, offensive line. None of these guys will have stats. I don't have pancake blocks or anything. I could have looked at snaps, I guess. But William Satterwhite played in 3 games. The UTEP game, he was dressed and on the sideline. They put Max Anderson in to play center with the number 2s because with 1 regular season game left, that being Vanderbilt, and you never know if you might need him for that, it just didn't make sense to play him in the UTEP game. So Max Anderson played in 2 games. Gage Ginther played in 3 games. Jeremiah Hurd played in 1 game, and he was one of my favorite signees for the class of 2024 because I think he just got such a unique skill set, former basketball player. Jesse Perry, who I think is going to end up being a player. I do. Came from an option-based offense here in the in-states, won a state title, came to Tennessee, thought it would be, everybody's a work in progress, but thought it was going to take a couple years for him to learn how to pass block. Well, he might be a starter next year. That's premature, but he's a guy that they like and that I think can play. Jesse Perry played in 4 games, and he will redshirt. So that's the offensive line. Defensive linemen, 2 of them will redshirt. Kellen Lindstrom played in 3 games, had 4 tackles. Carson Gentle, who in-state from McCallie, a lot of people like Carson Gentle. Hearing a lot of good talk about Carson Gentle from the practice field. He played in 3 games, had 5 tackles, had half a sack. That was in that UTEP game. At linebacker, Edwin Spillman, who he was healthy all year long, he missed 9 games with injury. If Edwin Spillman was healthy all year long, he would not have redshirted. He would have played on every special team. He would have been in that rotation at linebacker. Heck, he came back after missing 6 games and was thrust into action at Vanderbilt. He's a guy that William Inge likes and is going to play and will play for Tennessee in the playoffs. But he will redshirt. 3 games, 5 tackles, 30 defensive snaps, but again, missed 9 games due to injury. Jordan Burns, who dealt with injuries there during camp, I think they liked him as well. He played in 1 game. That was the UTEP game. Had 4 snaps on defense and 1 tackle. And then 1 defensive back that was signed in the class of 2024. He will redshirt, and that is Marcus Gorey. Of the defensive backs, 1 will redshirt. Better phrasing. Marcus Gorey from down in the Chattanooga area, from Bradley Central. 2 games played, had a tackle, 8 defensive snaps overall for Marcus Gorey. Those players, that was 14 players who do qualify for a red shirt. Who are the 6 players that don't qualify for a red shirt? Well, we can think of the majority of them here. We'll start with defensive lineman Jordan Ross, former 5-star, played in 10 games this season, primarily on special teams. He had 17 snaps on defense at the Leo position. His season highlight was blocking a punt and returning it for a touchdown against UTC, and that was not even the play that was called, but he did it anyway. Jordan Ross is going to be a player down the line. Mike Matthews, wide receiver. Of course, he's played a lot more as the season's progressed, and at Vanderbilt, he played a season-high 42 snaps because Dante Thornton got banged up. Brew McCoy didn't play. You missed Squirrel White a little bit towards the end. But Mike Matthews, again, a former 5-star, 7 receptions on the year, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a touchdown in that Vanderbilt game, 1 kickoff return for 32 yards as well, and again, 42 snaps against Vanderbilt, a season high. Boo Carter, obviously not redshirting this year, played in all 12 games, okay? And Mike Matthews played in all 12 games, I believe, yeah. Boo Carter played in all 12 games. started to take over as the starting nickelback player, the star position midway through. 35 tackles, 1 interception, tackle for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup. He was named the SEC Freshman of the Week in October after the Florida game when he had that interception. He's taken over punt return duties as well and done a really nice job. 12 punt returns, averaging 16.5 yards per return, a long of 38. He has flipped the field a lot for Tennessee, and he's played 387 defensive snaps this year. Boo Carter is going to be a good player. Peyton Lewis does not qualify for a red shirt. Played in all 12 games. Of course, when Deshaun Bishop went down, Peyton Lewis was pressed into action as the second back for Tennessee behind Dylan Sampson. 262 yards on the year, 54 attempts, 4.9 yards per carry. He's got a couple of touchdowns. 3 touchdowns, okay, highlighted by a 99-yard effort against Kent State. So Peyton Lewis, obviously, it's not going to have a red shirt. 2 other guys, primarily on special teams, that don't qualify for a red shirt. Caleb Beasley, a defensive back. Idris Farouk. Caleb Beasley and Farouk both have played all 12 games, primarily on special teams. Beasley, 4 tackles on defense. He's played cornerback in 4 games this year, 27 snaps against UTC. Idris Farouk, 13 total tackles, 1 TFL, 57 snaps on defense. He played 2 snaps at Florida, one of those on the goal line. I'm intrigued to know why Idris Farouk was in the ballgame at that point, but nonetheless, he does not qualify for a red shirt. So it's always fun to kind of track who can redshirt, who can't redshirt this time of the year. Tennessee had 20 true freshmen on scholarship this year, 14 of which will redshirt, 6 of which will not. And then we'll do this exercise this time next year on those guys that we talked about in segment number 1 who are about to sign with the University of Tennessee today, or maybe have already sent in that national letter of intent. Hey, when we come back, we'll check in with Josh Ward, a little bit we do here on Wednesdays every single week. We call it Ward Wednesdays. We'll talk about the Vanderbilt game, a little bit of everything, and then we'll conclude a Wednesday show that is coming up next with Josh Ward for Ward Wednesday. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com, never waste a hunch and make every single moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Josh, for the second time in 3 seasons, Tennessee finishes the regular season with a 10-2 record. What's that say about just where this program is right now and under Josh Heupel? Because, boy, it was not sniffing anywhere close to this for the last 15 years prior to his arrival.
Yeah, the program has greatly improved. The program has found stability, and it's among the top teams in the conference, which means it's among the top teams in the nation. And we've seen Tennessee against Georgia show that there's still work to be done, but Tennessee against Alabama, Tennessee against most teams that it's played has either been right there at the same level or above. And it had been a long time since we could say that. Tennessee went nearly 20 years without winning 10 games in the regular season before 2022, and they've done it 2 times in the last 3 seasons. It's a terrific accomplishment. They have more goals that they're trying to go after, but now those goals that we're talking about, postseason success, are realistic with where the program is.
You look back on Saturday, and it was about the worst start you could possibly imagine. 14-0 in the first, 4 minutes of the football game. What were you sitting there thinking whenever Tennessee was down 14-0? Because again, I understand hindsight is 20/20, but I'm sitting there, Tennessee's down early on, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's still so much time left. I have full confidence that Tennessee's going to come back and win this game. I know easier said to say that now, but for me, I wasn't worried, but it was not a good start.
It was not a good start. My thought was, okay, Tennessee's offense needs to respond. It's been put in a position, and it helped with the early fumble, but it's been put in a position where it's going to need to be explosive here. And the passing game produced that. Over 4 quarters, there was no question which team was better, but I did want to see how Tennessee would respond because I thought Tennessee would come back and win the game, but wouldn't have bet my life savings on it, and my confidence was not as high as it was 5 minutes prior, 5 minutes of game time. Prior going into it. But the special teams conversation, that's a real one. The defense, it had a bad start in allowing Vanderbilt to move up and down the field for a drive or two, and then it said no more. And that Jermod McCoy interception, I think, was a big deal. So the way the rest of the game played out, I think, was a big deal in saying what this team is capable of and how it responds. Too many times, you might argue, the Vols have gotten themselves in a tough position during the first half of games, but to their credit, they have responded really well all season long in those type of positions.
Yeah, that Jermod McCoy interception was huge. I think Vanderbilt converted on its first 3 third downs and then got one the rest of the game. I thought the defense came alive there. And a quarterback, he continues to play at a high level. He had one bad throw, and it was a bad throw. It was well inside, didn't even give his receiver a chance, and was picked off coming right off that interception, which is unfortunate. But I thought Nico had a really good game, and I thought the offensive line did a really good job of protecting him, and Vanderbilt certainly didn't try to blitz him much. And when he had time, he looked really, really good.
Yeah, Eric, Nico's obviously improved from the start of the season to where he is now, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think so much of the conversation is still affected by preseason expectation and the disappointment of how Nico played and how the offense performed during at least the first half of the season. But even beyond that, they'd continue to run into issues. But more often when we've talked about offensive issues over the last few games, it's not been because of Nico. He didn't have a great start against UTEP, but they played 4 quarters, and after the first 3 series, he was terrific against UTEP. Much lighter, a much worse opponent. I'm just thinking of recent issues he's dealt with. Not many. He threw a bad pick. Okay. We see that a lot from veteran quarterbacks in college football, guys who are a lot more established. And we'll see against better competition in the playoff. Opponents still to be determined. How he performs in that kind of setting, home or away, could be a factor. But the confidence that eroded during the early part of the season, I think, should be building back with how Nico has performed as the season has gone along.
And again, we said it right here on this podcast. I mean, the fact that he's in the Heisman early favorites was just hilarious to me. He hadn't he hadn't started a football game outside of the Citrus Bowl, and I mean, mid-season he was still like top 16 in the Heisman. It's like, well, the guy's thrown like 4 touchdowns so far. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, remember the conversation we had during the summer, and I think people got mad at me for my response, but the question was, which is more likely, Nico wins the Heisman Trophy or the team goes 8-4? And I didn't think either was going to happen. My preseason record prediction was 10-2, so that hit. But my answer was, well, I guess 8-4, because I don't think he's going to go win the Heisman Trophy. And the odds backed it up. It wasn't even, my answer didn't matter as much because the odds told us which was more likely to happen. And the Heisman was never in play for Nico this season. There is a world, I guess, where they could have gone 8-4, but the truth is that it was in the middle, and it was Nico needing to improve as the season went along with the experience that he would gain, and he needed to put the work in from that experience, and he did that. And the team, I think, improved because of that. And others around him had a lot of work to do too. Those early season issues, recent issues, were not always because of Nico. He played a part in times. He was a victim of some of his teammates' issues at times. But to me, they've improved as the season has gone along from where the offense was to what we're seeing now. Let's see about the health. There are other conversations, but this is a better offense now, I believe, than the one we talked about 12 to 14 weeks ago.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's a much, much, much better offense. It's an offense that continues to run the football really well. Your quarterback's improved. And I thought on Saturday the wide receivers played well. And I think the wide receivers, once again, for the second straight year, has been a very big disappointment. But I thought they played pretty well against Vanderbilt for sure. And Tennessee's going to need them to play well in the playoffs, no doubt. Signing day is today. And you know, it doesn't have all the drama and all that type of stuff of the old signing day in February and all that. But Tennessee, there could be a little bit of drama today. We'll have to wait and see. And you know, as Tennessee enters the day, a really stocked class. We'll see what Isaiah Campbell does. We'll see what Tim Merritt does. We'll see eventually what Sheady Hayward does, Onis Konabani does, and some of these others. And it feels like Tennessee's in a good spot with David Sanders. I mentioned Isaiah Campbell. It feels like he's going to be in this class, so on and so forth. But overall, you got a class that's kind of knocking on the top 10. I think it's sitting at 9th right now in the On3 industry rankings. Another pretty solid class for Josh Heupel. Yeah,
as we're having this conversation, holding on to David Sanders is a key because he's ranked as and probably the top prospect in the class. Getting a quarterback early on that Tennessee coveted in George McIntyre was a big part of that. I think getting a guy like Marion Dye was a huge deal for this class. Trying to add talent at wide receiver, I think they've done that. It's an overall really good class. Let's see how it plays out in the SEC, because we can point to a number of schools in the conference and say that's a really good class. That's a great class. That's where recruiting is in this conference. But Tennessee's done a really good job. I think adding a running back here in the last couple of weeks was something they really wanted to do, and they made that happen and were able to flip a prospect in doing so. So I think what they've done, the job they did in the May-June timeframe of getting so many highly touted prospects to campus, and then June, July, August, turning those visits into commitments, was a plan that went about as they hoped that it would. So as good as they hoped the class would be, I don't know that, but like the work they put in to get Deson Brame to flip essentially back to Tennessee, right? Because he appeared to favor Tennessee, committed to Oregon, then flips to Tennessee. Moves like that could pay dividends that we're talking about here in 2 to 3 seasons.
Josh, what's coming up the rest of the week on Josh and Swain, noon to 3 on 99.1 The Sports Animal?
Playoff anticipation. We'll be talking some recruiting on the show. Basketball continues to build in the conversation as well with what this team has been able to do. But yeah, so much about playoff, who deserves to be in, a lot of yelling about teams ranked between 11 to 14 in college football. That's the new format. But Tennessee securely in the playoff, more about what their postseason possibilities will look like. That's a big focus on the show. We have the newsletter each Friday morning, free to subscribe. We'll go out Friday morning once a week into your email inbox.
And you can subscribe to that newsletter in the show notes of this episode. Also, dark mode last night for Tennessee basketball. What'd you think?
Yeah, back during the summer, we had Rick Barnes on to talk about Dalton Connect going to the Lakers. He had just been drafted, and we talked Tennessee, hoops moving forward. He said Chaz Lanier shooting lights out, and that's shown up. But he said they had a dark mode, or just a black uniform, maybe is how he described it, in the works, that it would be coming. Got very excited. So I wasn't sure when they would unveil it. It's the battle of the orange, right? Tennessee and Syracuse. Yeah. So why not go dark mode for that?
That would make sense, right?
But I think the uniform's a really good look. To answer your question, I think it's a really good look.
Josh, thanks as always, man.
Thank you.
Great stuff as always from Josh Ward. For a little bit, we call Ward Wednesday here on Locked On Vols. Every single Wednesday, you get to hear from the radio personality, a one-time personality of the year over at 99.1 The Sports Animal. That is Josh Ward. All right, so we kind of got you set for signing day. We'll react to signing day on tomorrow's show. Don't forget, if you didn't check the mini podcast reacting to Tennessee in the college football playoff rankings, make that your second listen here wherever you get your podcast, completely free and available, again, wherever you get your podcast. Can't thank you guys enough for joining me here today. Everydayers, appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you again on a Thursday. This is Locked On Vols.